Today we're going to talk about self-abandonment. What is it, why we do it, how we do it, and how to stop self-abandoning ourselves. Hello, my name is Michelle Liddy. Welcome to Living a Limitless Life. I help people connect to a positive self-identity for growth and expansion in all areas of our life. All right, what is it? Anything to do with us abandoning our thoughts, ideas, perspectives to gain any type of acceptance, approval, or belonging. We go along with other people's thoughts or ideas because we don't want to cause any strife or rift, and that strife or rift can be a perceived strife or rift. It may not even exist or be there. So why do we do it? We do it to gain acceptance and approval. When we were younger in our childhood, our parents didn't accept us for the person that we are. They wanted us to be who they wanted us to be. So our unique personalities, our own individuality, we learned that wasn't accepted in our family or our upbringing. And so we abandoned ourselves to be who we thought our parents wanted us to be, so we didn't get judged or criticized or maybe yelled at or getting in trouble. You know, you could have been a kid that was really hyper and the parents didn't care for that and you wanted you to be a little bit more quiet. You could have talked a lot. I know that I asked a lot of questions when I was younger. My dad was so annoyed by that, and he would get so angry and get mad at me for asking questions about things. So anything to do with who we were, we had to shut down and become somebody else in order to be accepted or loved or approved of. So that is why a lot of it stems from our childhood and why we do those types of things, like shut ourselves down and become these fake parts of ourselves in order to belong. And then we go into social environments. And because of our family upbringing, we learn certain ways or certain things on how to be, and we may not speak up when we're in social situations. We may stay quiet or go along with other people's opinions and thoughts to appease them because we don't want to feel rejected or left out if we show or talk about our own opinions or our own perspectives. So how do we do this? How do we self-abandon ourselves? We do it through conforming to what other people's thoughts and ideas are. We go along with what they think and what their ideas are, and we just go along with it. And we don't stand up we don't use our voice and tell our truth. Like if somebody may say something that we don't agree with, we just go along with it. We may just agree with them without saying anything. Now, we don't have to speak up every time. Like if it's just a neutral situation and people or friends or people are just talking and we don't really need to give our input, that's okay. But when there's a situation where we feel we want to give our input, or when maybe we have a different perspective, not against them, but just another perspective, another way to look at things, it's okay to give your opinion, your perspective, or a different thought or idea. But sometimes we may get in fear that we may get rejected if we give our thoughts, opinions. I know that sometimes I would kind of go from one extreme to the other. I would give my opinion and kind of look at everybody and see if they accepted it or not. And if I felt like they didn't accept it, then I would shrink myself down and then I wouldn't say anything and just kind of go along with other people. And that really wasn't being true or authentic to myself, just going along with what everybody else said. And so I had to learn how to say my opinion or perspective in respect to myself and respect to other people and not be attached to whether they agree with me or not. Another way we do it is people pleasing. We just please other people. That's another form of just going along, making somebody else more important than we are, making their thoughts, opinions, kind of putting people on pedestals above us and making them more important than our own thoughts and ideas. And that is something that can just really get us in jams, because when we make other people more important than us, we don't feel good about ourselves. We don't feel like we're worthy or we're worth it or that we're good enough. We put these other people, it could be friends, it could be family members, it could be strangers, and just somebody may say an opinion and you just want to validate them and say, okay, I agree with that. And then sometimes you may walk away and say, I didn't agree with that at all. And then you don't feel really congruent. You don't really feel in alignment when you start agreeing or going along with what everybody else does because you don't want to cause a rift or anything like that. Another way we do it is resentment. Resentment can come up when we compromise ourselves for other people. So we become what we think other people want us to be. And then we, in turn, may think, okay, well, I did this for them, so they would give it back to me. Like, let's say you give somebody a lot of attention, and then you think, well, I give you a lot of attention, they're going to give me a lot of attention. Or maybe you canceled plans to be with this person, but the person didn't cancel plans to be with you. So you may do things, compromise yourself, and go the extra effort or go out of your way for other people, but when they don't give it back to you, you feel resentment and you feel upset that you gave yourself away to this person, thinking you're going to get something in return, when actuality, they didn't ask you to do that for them to begin with. I mean, they'll take it, they'll receive what you're offering, or they don't know that you're canceled. They may not be aware that you canceled plans to be with them unless you told them, or they're not aware that you're going this extra mile for them to please them. And then when you don't get that back in return, you may get angry at the person and feel resentment. You may do passive aggressive behavior towards this person because they're not giving back to you the way that you feel that they should give back to you, whether emotionally or physically, going somewhere or doing something with you, or emotionally, maybe validating you, or inviting you into a group that you felt that you should have been invited into. Whatever it may be, they didn't ask you to compromise yourself. So whenever we compromise ourselves, that's a big flag to letting yourself know that you're abandoning yourself for somebody else. Anytime you feel any restriction within yourself, or resentment, or unforgiveness, or anger, anytime you're doing things against how you feel comfortable being, or you feel like you're going to get something in return, that is self-abandonment, to gain some type of acceptance or approval, or belonging, or get invited someplace for something. So if you're trying to, if you're abandoning yourself, doing things for other people to get something back, that's abandoning yourself. You want to do things because that's exactly what you want to do. You want to go with this person wherever it is. You want to go the extra mile because that's something you want to do, and that's the person that you are. You're not doing it to gain recognition or to gain acceptance or to, quote, get something from what you're giving. When you are being totally authentic in who you are, you're doing things because that's in alignment with who you are. It's not to get something from somebody else. I remember an example about this is that I was in the mortgage industry, and I just kind of happened to stumble upon that industry. And I'm a hard worker, so I'd work really hard. And the vice president noticed how much of a hard worker that I was, or am, and she wanted me, and I was actually working in another department, and she noticed me, and she wanted me to come and work in the mortgage department. And I said no for many times. She would ask me. I finally gave in and went into the mortgage industry. I knew that I didn't like the mortgage industry only because I'm not a detailed person, and I'm not all about the numbers and calculations, and it's a very detailed job, and I know that that's not really my strength, and that's why I didn't want to go into the mortgage industry. But I went in totally disregarding who I know myself to be, and went into the mortgage industry. I started out as just kind of doing general duties, and then I went into a job that required a lot of detail, a lot of attention, a lot of work. It was just being on the top of your game every minute of the day. I was a closer, and I would close files, and I would have to review the hundreds of pages of files, and that I knew I compromised myself to go into this department, and I knew it wasn't right for me. So I ignored what I knew was best for me in order to go into a department thinking, oh, I'm trying to think, what was I thinking? Oh, is it going to get better? I knew I didn't like the mortgage industry. I loved the people that I worked with and I had a really good time, but I didn't like the job itself. And so we want to listen to ourselves. When we know that something isn't right for us, we don't want to do it anyway. We want to let that be a flag to us to let us know, okay, that is not in alignment with me. And when it's not in alignment with us, eventually it's not going to work out. You're not going to be happy. You're going to feel resentful. You're just not going to be happy in this situation, a job. It could be a relationship. It could be going someplace on a trip. If you don't want to do these things and you go against how you feel and go and do it, it's going to come to an unhappy outcome. You're not going to be happy in the long run if you're in a situation that is long term, like a job or a relationship or whatever it may be. So just something to kind of add to that is we do it, and I know I mentioned this before, is to get some type of need met, some type of acceptance or approval, because we weren't accepted for the people or the person that we are, our authentic selves. We had to basically abandon ourselves to become somebody else, to be liked, loved, or accepted. And that was within our own family units that we had to do that. And then we carry that into our adulthood when there may not be that pressure from the family unit anymore, or now we're adults now, we can choose to be ourselves, but sometimes we're just on autopilot, on abandoning ourselves, compromising ourselves to be people that we think others want us to be in order to gain that acceptance or approval. How do we stop doing it? How do we stop abandoning ourselves? Now, I gave quite a few things to talk about to how to stop doing it, because I would abandon myself often, and it could just be small little things, and then it could be big things. I just caught myself the other day that I was talking with somebody and I started agreeing with them, and then I was thinking, why am I agreeing with them? I don't agree with what they're saying. Now, they weren't pressuring me or anything, but there was still a little bit about me that wanted to be liked or accepted. And so I was agreeing with this person, and then later on I thought about it and I'm like, why am I agreeing? There was nothing wrong with me. I didn't have to be in disagreement with them, but I could have, said something that stated my truth and authenticity. I could have voiced my opinion that would have been something differing from them. It wasn't an opposition, it wasn't strife, it was just a differing perspective that I would have offered, saying, well, oh, this is how I see it, or this is who I am. And it could have just been really natural and really lighthearted, and it wouldn't be like, no, I don't agree with you. It's just like, oh, I kind of see it this way. This is my thoughts on it. This is how, what I would do. And it just simple like that. So catch yourself when we give ourselves over to other people to be liked or to gain approval and acceptance. Gaining approval and acceptance can run into a lot of areas of our lives. And when we are acting outside of who we know ourselves to be, or we're compromising ourselves, it's to gain some type of approval or acceptance. So this approval, acceptance, and belonging has to come from ourselves internally. It can never come from outside of ourselves. We have to start giving ourselves that approval or acceptance. And if it's different than what somebody else is, we don't want to compare to other people and view the approval or acceptance of ourselves based on other people's opinion of us, or whether they validate us or agree with what we're thinking about or talking about. We have to give it to ourselves, because when we were younger, we needed that approval or acceptance from our parent, or from a sibling, or from a major caretaker, or from a teacher. We needed that approval or acceptance because that's how we were figuring out who we are, our self-identity. But now that we're adults, we can give that to ourselves. We don't need to get that from other people. So we kind of have to flip that switch on back into the focus of ourselves. And it takes time, and it takes, being aware of it. Okay, in this moment, if we're in a situation, we're feeling comfortable. In this moment, I'm wanting approval outside of myself from this person. And at this now, and just, inside voice, I approve of myself. I approve of myself. I accept myself. I accept everything that I'm doing. I accept my decision. I approve of my decision, and not look outside of ourselves for somebody to agree with us, and be okay with somebody not agreeing with us, because we are the only ones that know what's right for us, not other people. It's about gaining that self-connection, and that is, that self-connection is through approving of ourselves, validating ourselves. Build up your inner connection with yourself. Find out what your likes or dislikes are. Find out where your boundaries are for yourself. What's a no-go and what's okay. I remember when I think about certain things, I think about, okay, what is my boundary? What is okay? What is not okay? What do I find myself agreeing with that I don't agree with? What is something that I don't really care about, and where is something that I do care about, and I need to speak up for myself and not do that thing. A lot of this, sometimes we go along with other people, is because we don't know what we like and don't like. So sit down and really think about it. Think about what is it that I like? I like to hike. Okay, so if you like to hike and somebody else doesn't, that's not really a match. And I'm not saying that somebody has to match everything that you like or don't like, but if we're compromising ourselves doing what other people want, and it's a lot of what we don't really like, then that's something we want to think about, and start aligning ourselves with people that are similar likes, similar things that we like to do. Bike, hike, swim, whatever it is. Go to the mall and go shopping, whatever that may be. You want to find similar interests with other people that complement each other. Self-trust. You have to put that, a big part of not abandoning yourself is trusting yourself, your own thoughts, your own opinions, how you think, how you feel. Trusting yourself and not doing what, a lot of it is not doing what other people, either want us to do or we think that they want us to do. So there's kind of two sides of the coin to this. One thing is we compromise ourselves because we think we want them, they want that of us. They want us to be this other person because we think that that's what they want. And another part is that people put pressure on us to be something they want us to be. In either situation, we have to trust ourselves and not conform to what we think others want us to be or what somebody is pressuring us to be. And sometimes that does take some courage to really stand in who you want to be and what you want to do and what you don't want to do, what you want to say no to and what you don't want to say no, or what you want to say no to and what you want to say yes to. It takes some courage and some practice to really start voicing your opinion and being honest with yourself, and then in turn that's being honest with other people. Values. I've mentioned this in other videos because it's such a true, like a GPS guidance for ourselves, is to know our values. And look it up online. Type in top 100 positive values. And some values are negative, things that we may value. A value is, I want this person to like me so I don't get rejected. That is not a very positive value. You want to build up the value of, I like myself, and that's more important than somebody else liking me. When you like yourself and really get into your own self-love, your self-acceptance, your own self-value, and start valuing yourself separate from what anybody else thinks, that is when other people will start valuing you. Because when you seek it outside of yourself, you give your whole self away to other people for, I need your validation, I need your approval, I need you to tell me who to be so I can feel safe. When actually you need to turn that around and you need to decide who you want to be, and then in turn you'll start feeling safe. I want to be this person. I'm a person of courage. I'm a person of integrity. I'm a person who stands up for myself. Whatever those values are, or however you want to think about yourself, make a list and write it down of who you are, and stay with those values that you really like and connect with, and then look at values that you want to start integrating and being. Standing in your own strength, standing in your own identity, not abandoning yourself for other people. Start valuing not abandoning yourself for other people. Um, Stop putting other people before you. Like, don't put people on a pedestal. You are the most important person in your life because you are the one that you're with most of the time. Your thoughts, your ideas, your values. You know everything that's going on in your head, not everybody else. And not everybody has to understand that or understand what you're thinking. You don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to validate yourself. If somebody doesn't get you, that's okay. You can do an internal laugh and just be like, that's okay. I get me. The person who has to get me is me. The person who has to understand me is me. The person who has to know the decisions that I make that are right for me is me, and not giving that approval outside of ourselves. In the beginning, it may feel a little uncomfortable because it's not something that we're used to doing, but the more that we start practicing it, the more that it really becomes easy, and it becomes actually like in time, it becomes like you don't even think about it. You don't think about, you're not looking or scanning the room for that approval or that validation or that facial expression that gives you some sort of validation. You're not looking for that because you feel very confident in who you are, and you stand positive in your own validation or your own approval or how you think or feel or how you show up. It may be different from somebody else, which is completely and totally okay. Just to kind of sum it up, choose yourself over other people's opinions. Choose how you think. Choose yourself over other people's thoughts and opinions. Choose your ideas as important. Choose your perspective as important for you. You choose yourself in all situations. Now, I'm not saying you selfishly choose yourself, because there's a balance. You kind of you choose yourself, but not by, in a selfish way, like you're just cutting other people out, because it's kind of a given. It's kind of balancing that out. You're balancing. What I'm talking about is choosing your idea, not abandoning your idea for somebody else's because you're too scared or in fear to stand in your own idea or your own opinion, or what's right for you, or your perspective. Your perspective may be different from somebody else's. That's okay. That's choosing your perspective. Don't give your perspective and somebody says, well, they give a different perspective, and then you go, oh, well, yeah, you're right. Mine's not the right one. I think yours is the right one. That's abandoning yourself. If somebody else gives a different perspective, say, oh yeah, I see where you're coming from. And you may say, well, this is how I think about it, or you may just leave it as it is. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. You don't have to justify or make somebody understand where you're coming from. So remember, choose yourself. We want to stay within our own identity and not give ourselves away to other people's fleeting thoughts and opinions and approvals and perspectives, and stand in our own identity. So if you like what we talked about today, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video. See you later. Bye.